3, 2, 1, and we're live. All right, it's Tony's Temple. I have two guests today. I have Ian. I have Megan. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too
Doing
bad.
good. Doing good.
Yeah, Ian came over here and he made us the Blue Mermaid.
I call it the Blue Mermaid. That's what my buddy Hunter always called it whenever he was showing me how to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good. So good.
I gotta admit, it is good. It tastes like blueberry soda
Yeah,
with alcohol.
I'm lame, so I'm having a Mike's Hard Lemonade Blood Orange.
Ooh.
Seasonal flavor.
Ooh, what season is it?
Blood Orange season.
Blood for the bullet god, am I right?
Yep. Well, I brought these two today because Ian, he's very deep into the gaming industry right now. He also has his own stream, right? Well, what's your stream? Just a little shout out for yourself.
Dr. Gnome 65 on Twitch and on YouTube.
Okay. Cool.
Usually the highlights are what go on YouTube, just small clips here and there.
All right, I'll leave a link to his stream in the below the description. But yeah, Ian, you came here. You want to talk about like the Battlefield 2042. So like, what's going on with this? So I know it has something to do with like it hit like a record low number of players, but like that's just numbers. There's meanings behind all this, right? So like, what do you have to say about that?
Oh, the numbers, they say a lot, actually. So, as someone that actually played both at launch with the short-lived EA Pass subscription that I had, and during the beta, it had problems to go and kind of just wrap it up neat in a bow.
Problem is an understatement. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like... You already know. It's just a massive understatement on the quality of the game upon both the beta launch and the release.
I think it's safe to say if this was a roast beef in the oven, when you take it out, it would still be mooing at this point.
Oh
it was
God,
that
raw.
underprepared. Yeah,
It's
it was.
raw.
There were at the top of my head as a peon gamer. A lot of the graphics look like you're pulling them out of a Nintendo 64, so because of the rendering performance, and just a lot of memes at this point about like, oh, only in 2042, and it's like a helicopter clipping through the building and like glitching out, people's guns glitching. I saw one guy literally like get jumped into the air, GTA style, and like go flying through the air, and he died.
Oh my God.
Bad ragdoll effects. Very underbaked game is the polite way to say it.
And the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
So far. It's been, and then especially when you go and decide to compare it to just Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1, not even half a decade prior to 2042 coming out. And you had all of the staples of every Battlefield game ever of fully destructible multiplayer maps. You can change the terrain based on what you do. Explosions actually create craters in the ground, not just gigantic burn spots like what 2042 had. And it just, the whole dynamic of the game, just from what people are used to, long-term Battlefield fans, it just wasn't there in 2042.
I have a confession to make. I've never played Battlefield. Okay, I played the single player for like 2 minutes, but like I'm not a huge Battlefield fan. I'm more of like a COD. You know? So when I first heard this, I was like, alright, cool. Battlefield is not cool. COD's in now, but then like COD fucking sucks too. But that's the topic for another day.
Yeah, so actually I'm glad you mentioned that. So first of all, respect. You like Call of Duty, that's
I
respectable.
love Call of Duty.
Of course. And actually, when I used to play Advanced Warfare, my favorite thing to do is do a shotgun fist combo. I would just zoom across the map and like punch people in the back of the head and kill them and ragdoll them, and just hearing the rage that caused was like one of my highlights in college. But and again, that's one of the main problems I think like hardcore Battlefield players had, like besides, Nintendo 64 graphics, is
the game was broken. This is beyond just the graphics.
But also gameplay, right?
Right.
And I kind of wanted to transition into this as a big point of why a lot of people dropped it. Because, you always have those diehard fans that are like, the game will be fixed.
No.
It's fine.
No.
It's okay. Let's try again next time.
No.
This game actually copied a lot of Call of Duty gameplay mechanics. So one of the things, like I played Battlefield 1 and I played Star Wars Battlefront 2. And, like, something that's really cool, yeah, I see your face, is, like, the classes, right? Like,
Face of judgment.
where Call of Duty, you just, like, switch your guns out, whatever, but you have in Battlefield, like, the the specific classes you can be that have their own layouts and things. It
Right.
kind of reminds me of Team Fortress 2. It's like a hybrid of Team Fortress 2 and Call of Duty in some aspects, but that's what made it fun, right?
Right.
Because if you have a bunch of like heavy weapons people on a team, you're going to get flattened, right? Because you got to work with your team to get those balances. You can't go renegade like in Call of Duty. And also, they tried this operator scheme, which they copied out of Rainbow Six Siege. So Battlefield, I think part of the reason it wasn't as successful, besides again half-baked product, is that it tried to copy things, it lost its identity. That's what I've heard from a lot of like hardcore Battlefield players is like, oh, well, where's all the things I've come to love about Battlefield? Where's the memery? Where's me jumping out of planes and using a rocket launcher to blow up things? That's not there. It's, oh, gross. I never thought I wanted a disgusting hybrid of Rainbow Six Siege and Call of Duty.
And the funny thing is they paid homage to things like jumping out of the cockpit of a fighter jet to blow up another fighter jet with a rocket launcher
Yeah, in
the trailer for 2042.
And
You couldn't actually do that in 2042.
See, I saw Battlefield 1, and I'm a very casual gamer, but I was like, oh shit. Like, I was hyped for Battlefield 1, and I love that game. But with Battlefield 2042, I had that same initial reaction from the trailer, like, oh shit, all these environmental factors will go into gameplay, like, you're letting people do these stupid, crazy big matches just for shits and giggles, like, I'm into that, and I was actually really excited, but when I saw the beta, I was like, oh no, oh no.
Tartarus, that's the name of it. I have a Razer Tartarus, and that was something we were mentioning right before. So, one of the favorite glitches that I had that perpetuated even into the full release of 2042.
Okay.
Before I go and kind of mention something that was brought up about the operators thing. If I had the Tartarus plugged in, like I would use it for like flight sims and stuff like that.
By the way, what the hell is a Tartarus?
It's
the modern
okay.
day Nintendo Power Glove.
It's not even. You don't wear it. It's not a power
It's a
glove.
Thanos glove.
So
pretty much?
it's kind of like a little like keypad. You can go and kind of put it right here and stuff like that. It's got a little palm rest. You got a thumbstick on the left side and everything like that. I mainly use it for flight simulation stuff whenever I'm playing like Star Citizen or X4 or other games like that.
Right.
So if I have that plugged in at the same time I'm trying to play 2042, I cannot shoot. and not in a specific way, like, and not in a just like I left click it no do thing. It's I left click, it doesn't release left click in the game.
What?
So I will shoot, and if it's in semi-auto, it just won't let me shoot again. If I'm in full auto, it doesn't stop shooting.
So is it poor optimization? Is it the settings or like what?
It's so context. I am also a system admin, so I kind of understand some of the testing process and things that you put into a product to get your value out of it. So that is actually what I would like to call a very infamous case of not thinking about your players. So considering that your players, I mean, there's like crazy things like people playing Elden Ring with a ring controller, but we'll talk about that probably here in a bit, but it's not considering outside the realm of a keyboard and a mouse, and even then it's just a deviation from a keyboard.
It's literally just a tinier keyboard with fewer buttons on it.
It's not having these things prepared and considered, which is actually kind of a downfall about releasing a game every year, is that you don't have time to think about these things, you don't have time to test these things, because whenever you rush something, there's a lot of things you're missing out on and things you don't think about. Because if you're thinking about A to B, you're missing C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, you're missing all the other points that you need to connect before you get to the finish line.
I mean, game development is hard. Like, developing anything is difficult, right? And then you have to compensate that around, like, the technology that's already in the world.
Of course.
So it's hard. So, I mean, I give them credit for that.
And
I mean,
again, it's hard, but part of the reason it's hard is you have to think about these things.
Right.
Because anyone could throw some code into Unreal Engine 5 and make something walk, but if you're gonna have like legs flopping everywhere and the graphics not matching, like there has to be an amount of care that goes into it, which is lacking in
like
2042.
Anyone can go and recreate QWOP from the old like Flash games.
Right.
They can anyone can recreate that in Unreal Engine 4 or 5 really, because found out not too long ago you can actually take stuff from 4 and port it into 5 seamlessly.
Gorgeous.
One of the greatest little features they could have added to Unreal 5 in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easy to go and make a game like that. And the more advanced you make a game, the more you have to think about it, like Megan was saying. But then some of these things you don't really need to think about if you're in a long-standing franchise. The ideas are already there. The logic behind how things function, the template's already there.
Right.
You have everything to work off of from previous entries. All you have to do is, if the logic would work differently in the new engine, like I'm sure they created a new dice engine for Battlefield 2042, all you have to do is translate that logic to the new engine.
Well, no. It's never that easy, dude. Like that's what I used to think too. It's the same shit, but then like it's not. At the same time, people. Okay, so the example I would use is like why people are complaining that when the PS4 or PS3, why is it not reverse compatible to like the PS2 or the PS1, right? Isn't it just the same thing, just copying, pasting over? And the answer is no. And the reason behind this is like imagine a car. Right? If the PS1 uses like, hey, I need this particular component to activate this part of the graphics, but if you develop new technology where that piece of technology is not being called for anymore, like in the PS2, it doesn't use this piece, it uses some other mechanic to render the graphics. So what does the PS2 have to do to like, figure out what the PS1 function was trying to do? So that's kind of like the gist of it, right? But to go back to the whole template thing, even if that is the case, why is 2042 so bad? Like at this point, it's beyond the template. It's just incompetence, and then people are rushing out an unfinished product, right? Pretty much releasing a beta and expecting the users to pay at full price, right? And the concept as a developer is, oh, don't worry, I'll just patch it in. Next patch comes out, I'm just gonna fix this, and then they keep doing it over and over. So where is 2042 now? It's like it's unfixable. Right, so no matter how big the template is, like you can't fix it anymore.
So
right?
It goes back to this astounding sarcasm theory that these companies are going to for their AAA titles, games as a service. So I love No Man's Sky, but I'm gonna blame it here for part of it because No Man's Sky was hyped up to like 100%, similar to Cyberpunk, but it was hyped up 100%. This is the greatest thing that man has ever created. Fuck the cure to cancer, fuck sliced bread, like this is it. This is peak of humanity. That's pretty much where it got to. Came out, half-baked, poorly optimized, 90% of what was promised was not in there. However, they took this and instead of being like, oh, we took the money, we're gonna run, or nope, this is it, they went back and they turned it into a game for a service. So these people, despite like all odds, literally their place flooded and they kept working. Like they kept going, and now No Man's Sky actually won awards last year or 2 years ago for like best revival of a game or best updates to a game, and actually it won the best update of the year and it won best like revival. I forgot the name for it.
Do you think 2042 can ever reach that?
No. And I'll explain why.
Right, so that's exactly what I'm trying to say, yeah.
But, because, let me get to that in a second, but I think people see those successes that people sat down and were continuing updating and people got interested in again, where game companies are like, oh, we don't have to release something at its full potential, or like full potential plus or minus a bug or two, which we'll patch later. At this point, it's now a service. Like, oh, you'll get this. Yeah, it's shitty, but if you wait 6 months, you'll get your value out of it. But back to what you said, 2042, it ruined its identity. Besides you can always fix the bugs. You can always fix glitches. You can always fix like exploits, vulnerabilities, whatever. But again, the gameplay shifted so much. It tried to appease everyone that Battlefield 2042 is no longer Battlefield. It's game face at this point. It could be any other shooter because it doesn't have that identity of Battlefield. That's part of the reason too why so many people lost interest, because cheap reproductive actions and motions. It copied parts of Overwatch too. Like you can customize the skins and customize the emotes and customize like the final like emoticon, whatever, at like play of the game, and they do like the action, stuff like that. It's trying to copy all these things when it needed to stick to its identity, because the latest Call of Duty was also hot garbage.
It is. I admit that. I played it. It's pretty hot and steamy.
All Battlefield had to do was stay as Battlefield, because honestly, again, at the end of the day, those glitches can be fixed, right? It's a really bad, like, shit stain on their nose, but it can be fixed. It can be moved on from.
Can it?
But, because the gameplay is so different.
Can it be fixed? Can it be patched? I don't think it can.
At this rate, no.
That's what I'm saying.
The potential will always be there for 2042 to be fixed, but unless either EA, DICE, or just anyone in particular goes and puts forth the time and effort to go and repair it and fix its shortcomings, then it's gonna remain as one of the biggest stains on the Battlefield franchise. But hands down, it's just, there's no excuse for a AAA title to come out in that state with the kind of money that is behind EA.
Right.
But do you feel also that like the gameplay changes and the very clear tempting of trying to get other users into their user base, do you think that had a impact on it as well? It's kind of hard to see past helicopters clipping through buildings.
It really is, though, because it's just my own personal experiences are clouding me from having any sort of hope for this game, honestly.
Fair enough. No, that's
so
fair enough.
It's just because, again, just too many issues to go and really personally go and try and justify what a positive direction for this game.
See,
I tried to, like, I even there was one game that I thought that was just one of the worst things to come out, but then everything just went right for it and the game fixed itself and it's now one of the more popular games. It kind of had a story similar to No Man's Sky, where they the devs saw everything that was going on release, and they were just like, all right, we're logging ourselves in a room, we're going and putting everything back together, everything that we said was going to come out, we're going to put into the game, and everything that's broken, we're going to fix it to the standard that everyone was expecting because of everything we said about it, and it just ended up becoming one of the best games in 2018, 2019. This is a game that actually kind of predated. It was a smaller game than No Man's Sky, and I can't remember it for the life of me.
I want to mention that too. So you have games, like indie games, that have shorter production times, don't have millions of dollars, like Stardew Valley, who literally one single person coded it, and the potential of that, and it became this amazing game. So many people fell in love with it. And part of that is the identity, and part of that is the care that went into this game. There were times, like I saw on Twitter, I don't really follow Stardew Valley, but it got enough clout on the internet where it became prevalent on other feeds and etc. But there was like a big patch he was doing and something happened, I believe, and he was like, nope, it's not ready. I said it was going to be done like this time, but I'm not ready to push this yet. This is not my quality. The
thing is, the difference between that and 2042 is, one, it's a gigantic company with thousands of people.
That's my point,
that needs to go through like production and I'm done. Go through like testing, and like phases and approval and all that stuff. Compared to one person, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there was this indie company. There's this indie little company that pretty much made a meme out of 2042. They pretty much tried to replicate it, what it is, but like even better. You've seen it, right?
I think I've heard of it. I just don't want to. I don't remember the name of it, and it's not coming to mind. But I've. There's just one of the things I'm seeing from a video that showcased it is just, it's clear in my head, and it was one of the biggest meme fests I'd ever seen on a YouTube video for any shooter, and it just bothers me that I can't remember the name right now.
I know exactly what you're thinking of. But again, my point is, if one person can do all of this and understand, like, if something's not ready, don't push it. Right. Then a company with millions of dollars and a bunch of people.
It's not that easy, because like there are pressure on the people that work on these companies. Hey, we need results now. You know, so like with these people being under this pressure, they're gonna push the developer to output something that they can't seem to do, and like that's what I'm saying. It's part of the beast.
That's why they delayed it one time, and Cyberpunk. The point is, delaying is becoming such a norm at this point. You shouldn't even be releasing something like that.
Right, I agree.
Like delays at like when they first started happening were huge scandals. Like, oh my god, something terrible is about to happen. But as they've like. Metroid 4, they're completely redoing it because Nintendo looked at it as like, this is not the product we want to give our fans. Like, this does not deserve, like, they don't deserve to spend their money on something that they won't be happy with. There's a point where it's now acceptable. There's literally a quote by Shigeru Miyamoto where he's like, it's better to delay a game and have it be perfect than to release a game scheduled and it not be perfect. Like, I'm messing up that quote, but it's pretty much.
I mean, I get the gist of it.
But it's at this point, it's so acceptable to push it back because that's what Halo Infinite did for its campaign because of the Gorilla Man memes. Like they pushed it back, and the graphics they had to fix the graphics, and everyone like was like, "Thank you for pushing this back." Like people aren't getting angry by it for the most part. People understand. Like people are patient, because they want that quality.
It's funny you mentioned Halo Infinite because of how much of a shitfest the multiplayer is for Infinite.
What is it?
Wow, what a great transition.
Wait, is it? Because like
So-
on my last podcast, I was talking to my buddy Roman. He's actually into like the not like I don't know how competitive it is, but it's a pretty competitive league. But the last thing I've seen, they're doing good. I heard people were complaining about like the microtransaction. It's just like tiny little stuff, but like nothing so big where it's like game breaking like Battlefield.
Yeah. So I do want to preface with the fact that Halo Infinite as a whole for the campaign, the campaign, it's probably one of the best ways you can go and turn a historically linear game into a more open world sort of genre title for a franchise, because with the exception of Halo 3 ODST, there was not a single Halo game that was actually open world in any fashion.
Right.
Halo 3 ODST was barely open world because it basically locked you into a small box. It locked you into a small map that was akin to a multiplayer map, and had you go and find little checkpoints to go and open up the linear campaign levels of the game. And then you go from that being the only game that's even close to an open world to an actual open world game that's akin to something like Shadow of Mordor or the
Elden Ring,
Witcher 3, Elden Ring, any of the Legend of Zelda games.
Right.
It's closer to those games than any other Halo game has ever been.
Man.
And it still keeps the Halo charm with it too.
Right.
One of my favorite things is to go and take the Warthog that doesn't have the gun on the back and just filling it chock full of snipers. Talk about one of the most overpowered bullshit mechanics in any FPS where you have a squad follow you around. And that's it right there.
That's very funny.
You just run around. You can kill a Phantom that's flying through the air. Historically, one of the tankiest Covenant airships in the game. And you just have 7 snipers just shooting at it until it's dead.
It's like the Death Star. You hit it at the right spot, it'll blow up.
Not even that. It's like imagine
Except you got like 7 chances.
Yeah, you got more than one this time.
You get more than one chance this time because you don't have every single bomber trying to go and hit it dying immediately.
Right. No, I get it.
So you have that, and then you go and couple it with this microtransaction hellhole.
Oh, no.
That is Halo Infinite. They go and advertise how everything you get in the game, it's going to work just like the Season Pass and the Master Chief Collection, where everything you get is earned. You don't have to pay a single dime into anything except for maybe the Season Pass itself to go and get certain different rewards that you also earn. And then what do? They make it aware that you can go and buy blue for $10.
I knew it.
A different flavor of blue on a different piece of equipment for $10.
Let me one up you that. So you buy blue, you can only buy that color for one armor. So if you wanted to put blue on another armor, you would have to buy the concept of blue.
You can get
a second time.
It's gonna cost you another $10.
It's worse than the entirety of that one artist with fucking Vanta Black. He's just he's like, guy. No, you can buy blue for one single thing right here. You see this? Yeah, that one bucket of blue paint you're buying, you only have enough for this one thing. Have fun.
Halo Infinite presents Bluest Blue for $9.99 in Halo credits.
It's actually Coral Blue 36. 30, whatever. No, you know, I actually had a rant about this with my boys. And then I was telling them that, like, you know, just because you put a lot of effort into a game doesn't mean you deserve praise for it. You know, and like the skin that they came out for the Halo stuff, I can do it. A chimp can do it. You know, like you rechange the palette, and they have the nerve to charge people like $7. Like, oh, you want this thing green? It's gonna be $7, even though all I did was just like move around a palette. You know, am I wrong to say that?
No, you're not, and you just actually like triggered a memory in me. Horizon Zero Dawn, when you were talking about like, oh, you put all this work into it. You don't get your dick sucked for like doing a hard job. So like Horizon Zero Dawn came out about the same time as Elden Ring, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. And all the developers got butthurt. It's like, we put our blood and sweat and tears and semen into this game, and why does Elden Ring McMeme rolly game get higher scores than us? This is bullshit.
Like, I blame woke culture as a fraction of it, but continue.
The game fundamentally is good, right? I mean, it's a game. I would say it's a game of the year material. It's a good game,
right?
But that you have Elden Ring, which has perfected its formula by actually taking feedback from all its previous games. Like, it takes things from Bloodborne that people really like, the Souls games, Demon Souls game, and it takes all that, puts it in this beautiful little package, and then with the assistance of George R.R. Martin McMichaidis, then it's a game. It's a beautiful game. I have not played it. I have watched Ian play it.
I absolutely love Elden Ring. I did not like it at first. This is actually my firstborn. Was it a Dark Soul kind of game? Yeah.
Soulsborne.
It's my first game. I didn't really vibe with it, but like the more I played it, man, I absolutely fell like in love with it. Like slowly, not like at one point I love it, because
that's a Dark Souls game.
There were so many things that I did. Like I saw this online cheat where the people were saying that the first boss market is like hard as hell. He's like the first barrier skill check kind of deal.
He really is.
I cheesed him, to be honest. I'm a dirty peasant. I'm sorry. I found.
What did you do? I'm curious.
I went to where I wasn't supposed to and just pretty much avoid everybody, and I got this summon for this like poison dog. So you summon the dog, you poison him to death. So you just kind of just run around and just don't attack him, just like be a little bitch.
I mean,
that's kind of what I did.
You say that's cheese,
but it's fun. The fact that it was possible.
Yeah, you say it's cheese, but it's like that game. It gives you the ability where if you haven't passed a certain checkpoint,
you can come back.
You can always go where you like. If there's not a checkpoint you have to go through before you can go to this area, you can go anywhere you want to.
Right.
It's like that's one of the beautiful things about Elden Ring is that it's open enough to where you can recognize I'm not supposed to go this way yet because it's too difficult of an area for me. But if you want to try anyway, it doesn't stop you.
Right.
That's like it. I'll make this really quick. I think in that it's like the purest definition of an open world game.
Right.
So like you have games like The Witcher or Cyberpunk or Metal Gear Solid 5 Disappointment where you have this open world, but you're kind of guided through it in a way, so it doesn't really feel like open world. Like, yeah, sure, you can go all the way on the other side of the map, but why? Like, all your mission stuff is on one side of the map for right now. Why do you need to go over there for now? And like, as me, when I played Metal Gear Solid 5, like, because all of my missions were still in a little concentrated area, I have no reason, right? Because I want to play through the game, and sure, I can spend time exploring the middle of nowhere, but there's no incentive to. Whereas Elden Ring, there's shit literally everywhere, and there's like a little mini adventure. I'm
glad that you said that there's shit everywhere. That's half of like the statement I want to say, because in my head, I play like open world game where like GTA, especially Assassin's Creed, whatever, Assassin's Creed. They have the same. It's open world. It's huge, right? But it's all the same shit. You go collect this. You go up here and jump this. You do the same thing. It's just open and big. It's the same repetitive thing. And I was playing Elden Ring the other day, and I was thinking like, whoa, I've never seen this. There's like a dead carcass of a cow over here. There's a bunch of like dancing ladies. Like everywhere I go, it's always something different. Always something different. There's no loading. You know, like this is the true definition of like, to me, open world. This is one of the reasons why I liked it. You know. There's so many different realms you can go to. There's just massive amount of content, but like they're not repetitive, you know.
And I'm gonna take it and compare that to 2042. Like you can feel the love and sweat and effort that was put into that game, Elden Ring. Like, you can tell how much they cared to put the intricate little details. Oh, you can go here. Oh, there's these little Easter eggs and like little ways you can cheese the boss. They thought of all of these. Like, our friend Preston was playing Elden Ring, and he was trying to do this exploit where there's like a fire giant that you fight, and you can make him jump over a cliff and like kill him instantly, which is, I believe, been patched out at this point. But
it had to have been, because I was watching him play it, and it's like, okay, you're doing exactly everything you should in order to get this exploit to work, but it's not working.
Right.
It's like there's an invisible wall that's been put in place to go and keep the fire giant from doing that.
I mean,
and it's like, now they realize that was a problem because they want you. This is one of those bosses they want you to actually fight. It's one of the mainline bosses in the story. They want you to fight it like you would a normal boss. They don't want you cheesing it, unless like there's just an ability you're using that's just stupid OP because of how you spec your character.
Well, see, that's the difference between the level of cheese that I did is I actually put an effort to like go out of my way to get this summon that's possible. Then compared to like exploiting it. You know, like I don't want you to exploit bosses, every single boss I fight. That like then what's the point of the game? You know, the whole point of the game is the challenge, right?
Yeah, it's different because one of the things I did when I cheesed the game, and this was an actual glitch in the game that I fully will responsibly say I took advantage of while it was still in the game. There was a glitch where you could go and just jump over a wall after you after you encountered a boss for the first time in that arena.
Okay.
And once you came back to it, he would still be spawned in there, and if you jump over the wall, he doesn't activate. So you can go into the arena by jumping over the wall and just wail on him until he's dead.
Dang.
This was pre-patch. I think this was patch
funny.
1.2 that took this feature out and fixed it. And you could kill him without him ever fighting back.
Dang.
And it was the easiest 560 runes I ever got in that game because I got into it before the patch came in.
I would say that is a pure exploit. You are manipulating the game's mechanics to get an advantage. Like, you cheesing, see, I think that's you just thinking outside the box.
I didn't even think. I just saw a YouTube video. I got
that's
frustrated.
fine.
I was like, you know what? How do I cheese more?
Yeah, see, like, what you did, game working as intended.
Yeah.
What I did, game definitely not working as intended.
Yeah.
And, like, that's another thing between Elden Ring and 2042. Like, the developers are actually taking feedback and applying it in game patches because they want the game to be better. Unlike 2042, literally, there has been no official statement from as far as I know. I mean, I could be wrong, but there's been like no real official statement from EA regarding the status of that game.
The game is dead. What do you mean? No one plays it. There's like less than like 1,000 players at this point.
If you owned a business and you had a product that ended up having a massive recall or extreme negative feedback, wouldn't you, as like the CEO, want to be like, hey, yeah, this kind of we're gonna take this L. Sorry about this. We'll make it up to y'all. You make a statement of any kind, like acknowledging like this was not a good job.
You don't have to.
And not to mention,
fuck it, the game is dead.
First of all, shareholders, right? That's the big one. Shareholders. Okay. And because, again, you want to really... You can pretend to talk to the customers, but really you're talking to the shareholders and you're looking good for them. But, again, you want to acknowledge, like, hey, this wasn't quite as good as we thought it was. Like, we kind of knowingly sent it out in a half-baked state. That's what I mean. A lot of other game companies did it. I'm not saying like you have to mimic what they did, but it's to help save face and save reputation. And by not responding, it really just shows how much they don't care.
Look, if I work for EA, I'm like, all right, yo, sorry about all that. I'm just gonna delete the whole entire game. I'll make a better one next time. This game does not need to be existing anymore. It's done. It's over.
Would you like to format Steam? Yes. But again, you were still making a statement, though. You're saying like
I was trying to be funny. No, I'm like, no, fuck it. This game deserves to be deleted. Fuck it. I'm over it. I'm sorry, universe, for outputting this game. This shouldn't have done that. My bad. I can't fix it. I can't go back in time. It's time to press the delete button.
Making the whole game disappear like a whisper in the night.
Thanos snap it. Just
out of existence. So,
ooh,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, on a side note, I don't know how I feel about gaming right now. I don't know if it's going on the right direction or if it's downward spiraling. And we talked about this earlier, where it's okay for developer to make a game and say, oh, I can make it half-baked and I'll just patch it. You know, and you made a statement earlier about the whole No Man's Sky thing. Like, I don't think that's where it started. I think it started way before that. Like, way before that. It's just No Man's Sky was able to do the right thing. And, like...
But they ate it up, right? Like, the gamers, they ate that up. And, yeah, there were some games, like, there's games as a service before that. I'm not saying that that invented it, because there are games as a service. Team Fortress 2, a game that I hold near and dear to my heart and deserves an update, is a game for a service.
Does it need an update?
Yes, there's bots and a lot of exploits in it.
Oh.
So,
Hear that, Valve? Add more hats.
Yes, please. But point is,
that's exactly what the consumers are asking for. More hats, guys.
But there's a
Give
lot
me
of
your
issues. This is not the podcast to talk about this. But the point is, there's issues with it, and that's all. I'll leave it as that. But games as a service, like multiplayer games, like if you really think about it, they're games as a service. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying games as a service is a bad thing for multiplayers. Like Fortnite, like those games that have like long lifespans, they need refreshes, they need updates, they need like new things to keep people interested and invested in the games. So those kinds of games as a service makes sense. I would say it's business justified. People are happy with it because they're getting new content. The developers are putting life into that game still, and like I wouldn't, like, people have mixed reactions versus every season or update or whatever, but it's still like there's care in it in a sense. But games as a service for single player games or games that really have no business being a multiplayer. So for example, they released multiplayer for Halo Infinite free because it was the beginning of the games as a service. There are games that are historically like a single player, and like why are we making those games as a service? Why are these single player games and I'm not even gonna go established, because that's a whole separate conversation. Why are these like single player games being treated as a game service? Like, that's not acceptable, because I want to.
It's a template. It's a foundation. It's a model. It's a gaming
gross.
model.
I don't want that for my single player game. Multiplayer games, I can live with that, right? And it also goes further into money,
yes,
because they want to buy things. And I will confess, I've paid $20 for a Team Fortress 2 skin because it was.
That's it.
It was lit. Like
just $20. I spent like $500 on League of Legends.
I'm so sorry, but
my brother spent more than that. I'm just saying.
I'm so sorry, but like
it was a good game, though.
If it's for cosmetics or like skins, honestly, I can justify it. Like, I want my guy to have a light bulb head, which is hilarious, by the way. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like cosmetics, I don't care. Like, if you want to charge me money for it, because that's like a taste thing. I would like it if there were unlockables to some extent, but having it, like, some of them for purchase, I'm completely fine with because it's optional. But, like, Battlefield 1, not Battlefield 1, Star Wars Battlefront 1, where it was practically a pay-to-win system, and the early discussive, I made that word up, but we're going to roll with it, discussive stages of Battlefront 2, it was pay-to-win. That is where the line is drawn. Like, at that point, I don't want to spend money to be good at this game. I don't want to spend money to excel. So, Team Fortress 2, you can buy the weapons, but you can also earn them. When you get achievements, like Steam achievements, you have the potential to earn weapons. And I've never bought a weapon in that game. Ever. And I have like some of the higher level stuff because I spent thousands of hours of my miserable life playing that game. So that's just to go to say that it's that sense of, as EA DICE said, a sense of pride and accomplishment for earning that. So I like to earn the things, or if it's cosmetic, buy it. I can buy all the hats all day, right? And that's fine. But putting that, first of all, giving me an unfinished product without, like, as a single player game, an isolated experience, I don't want my isolated experience to be prone to patches, bugs, glitches, internet connection, bullshittery. Like, I am in my own little world playing this game. I don't want other factors affecting it. I want a game that is complete.
You know what you need to do if that's what you want? Don't buy the games that do that.
Oh, I don't.
Right, and here's the problem. There are people that do buy that and support the gaming companies for doing this, and the gaming company think like, oh, people are okay with with these services, and then they're still willing to buy my service online for single player. Okay, we're gonna keep on doing this, and it goes back. And I had this whole rant about like loot boxes and the exact same thing. And this is why I personally don't buy loot boxes, because the more you do it, the more you encourage and like telling these developers that this is okay when it's not. Fair?
Yep. And what sucks more is that even if you, as a single person, don't buy the loot boxes, there are still whales that do that.
Exactly. It's by the end of the day, it's all about money, right?
Yeah, Ian. Mr.
You're a
Eve
whale?
Online whale.
You're a whale?
Okay. Prefaced by the most money I've ever spent in a single year has been on 4 account subscriptions for EVE Online, because I am a multi-boxer. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. Beyond that, I can say...
Is the game worth the money?
Yes.
Question mark.
Because I will admit, there was a small point in time last year that I was considering going and just killing all 4 of my subscriptions and just staying away from the game for an indefinite amount of time.
What made you come back? Like what?
Well, first thing being the community, but that's a different discussion. I ended up finding a good group of guys that I actually enjoyed playing, that also enjoyed playing, like who I was running with before. They've all basically quit. Some of them I don't even know what's going on with them. Others is just like, so when are you gonna get back into EVE? And they're just like, I don't know, man.
And I'm glad you brought this up, because I saw this video about like why MMOs are dying. And you think about it, MMO isn't about playing and doing all these quests. It's about the memories that you make with the people.
Exactly.
The community.
Like early days
right?
World of Warcraft. Like whenever you go and listen to some of these old school WoW players like Asmongold and sort, they all talk about how their early days in World of Warcraft are filled with all these memories of all these people that they enjoyed playing the game with. Their guilds, the people that they group up with to do things in the game together all the time.
Right.
Like they form bonds with these people, and it's just like having a friend in real life, because you enjoy doing things together. Yeah, the things you do are limited to a computer screen inside of a fictional world, but those are still fun times you have, because you're cutting up and having fun and making jokes with people just like in a game, just like you would be if you were sitting in the living room going and being a couple of dinguses on a podcast.
Right.
So
I got a funny story. One of my buddy back in like UNCC year, he invited me to play this MMO RPG game. It's like a Chinese RPG game. I can't remember. Honestly, I don't remember a goddamn thing about this game, but what I do remember was we were holding hands, and I took a screenshot of it, and I printed it out, and I put it on like a photo collage. And, it was just like a funny moment. He's like, hey, stay next to me, and he typed this code to make us hold hands. I was like, okay, cool. But the point is, like, of all the memories that I retained, that was the one that stuck with me. Not about the gameplay, not about the bosses and stuff. Like, these MMOs is like, it's about the community and the people that you play it with that makes it like so much more fun. And that's different from like single player that you don't really get the experience from,
Was that the MMO where the guy thought you were a girl?
No, that's Phantasy Star Online. Let me tell you the story.
Oh, I got my own PSO2 story.
All right. So there's this really old game, Phantasy Star Online, that was on the GameCube, and my buddy Kevin, right around like 2000, I want to say like 16. He invited me to play, and but they upgraded from the GameCube. They ported it to the PC. And you have a range of character and classes you can pick, right? And for me, I don't like to be like the musclehead. I don't like to be like all attack, and I don't want to be the mage. I want to be like someone that's all around her. I want to do range attack. I want to do heals. I want to do spells. I want to do a little bit of everything, right? So I picked a Ramaro, a ranger human, right? And it's a female, and based on the class, it gives you like certain like statuses and all that stuff. But I was running around as a girl with green hair, and I encountered this one guy. And, we were just friends. We were just hunting. I was like 9,000 level higher than he was. So he was like following me all the time. But he keeps on like inviting me to his games. And like we would hunt together. And he would always like leave little emojis specifically for me. He would put my name, like my account name in his emoji. And at first, like, okay, maybe this guy was just cool. Maybe he was just friendly, right? And then, like, one day, we were just hanging out. And he was saying, like, hey, I asked him, like, what are you going to do after this? Oh, and he's like, oh, I'm just going to hang out with my girlfriend. I was like, okay, cool. And we continued to play for, like, another 2 hours. I was like, wait, aren't you supposed to be hanging out with your girlfriend? He was like, I am. I'm hanging out with you.
Yike on a bike.
And, like, I was like, oh. I didn't say anything. He kept on, like, dropping me presents to, like, you know... I guess he was simping for me. I'm honored. I really am. I've never had a guy like give me so much present and like I felt like ooh. Now I know how girls feel. This is like the most magical thing, you know. The guys just giving me free present. Like it's meaningless to me because like I'm way beyond his level, but still, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. That moment stuck with me.
Make it rain.
When did you tell him you were a guy?
I never did.
Yikes!
I never did.
So you just haven't played the game, and he just still thinks to this day that he had a girlfriend on PSO2.
Bro, if you're hearing this, I'm Rita. I am sorry that I debated you. I didn't mean to do this. I'm sorry.
He's gonna like triangulate
some guy
man into find your apartment, show up with like roses and chocolates.
I don't want to be a dick, but he's probably thinking like, oh, wait a minute, PSO, Ramaro, green hair, I simped over her. Oh shit, that's me. You know, I don't know. That's the worst case.
It's gonna be years in the future. Just years in the future listens back on this episode.
You just like the Nigerian prince of Phantasy Star Online. Ooh, I am woman with millions of dollars. Please send me $5,000. Except you just did it completely on accident. You had no ill will.
I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to like act a girl. I just play as a female character and that's it. Boom, easy money. Yo, I'm just saying.
I am Prince Gali Baba. Will you send me $100 and I will reward you in 1,000 V-Bucks?
give me Masetas and Proton.
Sorry, I only take Google Play Store credits. But
you got any Plex? I need to re-up my EVE Online subscription.
But leading into that, how do y'all feel playing? So me personally, I already know my answer, but I want to see your guys' reaction. How do you feel about like if a game makes you be a female, right?
Oh, I love it.
Elaborate.
One of my buddy, David, whenever he has the option to play as a female character, he does it. And like I get where he's coming from. I think my cousin James does the same thing. And like in Fortnite, I play Fortnite. I picked this girl Ruby because she has like the fattest ass. And then like my brother, he picks Ivy. He has like that girl from Street Fighter. No, not Street Fighter. Whatever.
Are you talking about Chun-Li?
Chun-Li,
yeah, Street Fighter. You had it right.
For days.
Yeah, you know, so like, yeah, so we had like a whole squad of like female like characters running around. But yeah, I love it. But the weird thing is there are some guys that refuse to play female characters, and I get it. You know, you want to run around as a male character with like heavy body armor, but at the same time, I kind of want to see just like a maxed out armor where it's just a bikini.
Dang.
You know, like, is that wrong with me?
So you have the dichotomy. You have the dichotomy. Listen, I understand where he's coming from a little bit because that's what I do with my female characters. It is an old high school, middle school thought of if I play as a female character and it's a third person game, I get to stare at girl ass.
Booty.
I am legitimately not sitting here going and just staring at a dude's ass. Yeah. Even though the character is technically supposed to be me when it's a guy and it's a game like Elder Scrolls or something like that.
You're gay for playing a male character looking at his ass all day.
It's an old immature thought of just like, at least I get to look at that if I'm going to be forced into a third person perspective.
Because by the end of the day, male are simple creatures, right? I mean, there's like,
and then you got some games that it doesn't matter because you're just...
I see where your thoughts lie. I'm watching you. But... I mean, like, to me, it's mixed, right? I like to put, like, a story behind the character. So, like, sometimes I'll play a girl. Sometimes I'll play a guy. Like, I told Tony, I'm playing The Sims 4 right now, and I have, like, this, like, man bun, bearded, asshole guy. My goal is to get as many people pregnant as I can with the Sims 4 character.
You're making a Giga Chad.
Yes.
Oh, pretty much. I get
exactly. It. It's for fun, but, like...
I'm watching you.
Ooh,
yeah.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
But
double
like
standards.
Again, like I'm playing Ring Fit Adventure right now, which I recommend 10 out of 10 if you want to get in shape. If you want like a Switch game, it helps you get in shape because goddamn, like that game makes me sweat. And I'm not saying this is like super out of shape or anything, but like that game makes you sweat at the end. Recommend. absolute hit. Like games where it's supposed to be me, if that makes sense. Like it's supposed to be a representation of myself.
Right.
I play as a girl character. So like in that game, I'm a girl because it's supposed to represent me making progress, like losing weight, gaining muscle. Like in that way. Yeah, does that make sense?
It does. It kind of depends, though. But, like, there are games where the armor, you don't get to see the other gender unless you play as the other gender.
Yeah.
For example, like Monster Hunter.
Fair enough.
When you play Monster Hunter, you get, like, armor parts. If you're male, you get the male armor parts. But if you get a girl, you get to run around in, like, skimpy little underwear and stuff. And, like, you know, some guys don't do that. The Chiron armor, yeah, I completely get it. I used to run it. Everyone ran the Chiron armor. That's just sexy. I feel it.
And then you got some games.
Sex sells. I'm just saying.
And here's a thought that comes to mind too, because you got some games like a lot of Korean MMOs do this, like Vindictus, where you want to play a certain class, you have to go and play as the skimpy mage girl or the skimpy archer girl or the small little cute sorcerer girl. It's like you have no choice but to play that character because that's the character for everyone in the class.
I want the skimpy dwarf.
And then, of course, you have the one character that's... then you have this one, like, dual-wielding bladed character or class that has both a male and a female, but that's literally the only exception in that game, but, you know,
I wish
you got games like that.
I wish you had a soundboard so you could play that little anime sound, you know, like, wow! Yeah, every time you just talked about sex, you just play that sound.
Unfortunately, that's not going to be anywhere near the future, because I just bought this sound interface that cost me, like, $400. So I thought about getting the soundboard, but it only has like 2 microphone output, you know. So like I couldn't. This is the best thing I got if I wanted like 3-person podcast, you know.
We'll see about that. But point is, meanwhile, on the other end of that, you have people getting triggered over Horizon Zero Dawn because that game is god tier graphics. Like there's glitches and there's little weird things that happen, whatever. Right, but that game, like the graphics are beautiful. Have you probably seen trailers for it? Yes, no. I'm seeking validation here.
Nah.
Okay. But
I've seen it.
But people got triggered because of like peach fuzz on her face because that's how like in depth.
That's real.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
It's news flash. Most girls have peach fuzz on their face.
Yeah, but if they don't shave their face, then most women will have a little peach fuzz on their face.
Oh yeah,
it's just how humans are.
Right.
And people were like, "That's not a woman. I didn't know I was playing a gorilla in this game." And
play as me, then you're playing as gorilla.
Okay, but I mean, and that kind of goes into another big thing: gamer entitlement is a huge problem as well. I think there's 2 extremes to this. There's companies not giving a shit and sending out half-baked products. And then there's gamer entitlement. So there's hype and there's disappointment, right? And that's natural. Like if a game developer is telling you like, oh, the cops will respond to what you're doing and you can bribe the cops and like Cyberpunk 20 disappointment. It's like it's the whole goal was to be interactive with your world and choices you make would affect the game in the long term, right? So you could like bribe cops. You could do street cred, like similar to Saints Row or GTA or fucking Fable did it and perfected it 20 years ago. Or
one of my more favorite examples actually is Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a street cred system like what you would see in that. It was a full-blown reputation system where you do certain things for a certain faction. That faction will love you more, but their opposing faction will love you less. To the point where they will actually send, if you're talking about like you favor the NCR over the Caesar's Legion, you will have hit squads from Caesar's Legion coming after you after a while.
Can I build gangs in that game?
No, they never got that in depth with it.
You can do it in Saints Row.
Yeah, you can do it in Saints Row. You can have a squad follow you around.
That's given. That's the whole point of the game.
And then let's not forget to mention you can have a giant dildo go and smack people around all over the map and everything like that. But that's just how Saints Row is.
10 out of 10. See, really quick, and that's what I love Saints Row 2, because it was originally a knockoff Grand Theft Auto. That was the entire point of it, is, hey, we can make Grand Theft Auto. And it goes back into the whole thing about game identity that we talked about. Like, you have all these games, you have like Battlefield with its own identity, and it flopped besides the utter failure that it was for graphics and not being ready. But like core of it is it was not its identity. And you have games that start as a knockoff to Grand Theft Auto or a AAA title, and then they look at it and it's like, well, we don't want to be really a knockoff anymore. Let's make it our own thing. That's what Saints Row 2 was. It was fucking hilarious.
And then Saints Row 3 took it a step further, and Saints Row 4
They
started to go and take it a little too far, and then you get out of hell, and it's just like overboard.
But that's wild. The whole point. That's the whole point. That's how you build an identity. Their whole thing is like, okay, this is GTA, crank it up to like 1 million.
Yeah.
Right. But that's my comment with Saints Row. So go back to like the gamer entitlement. Like, what do you mean about that? Because, like, as a consumer, you are entitled to a good product, right?
So, let me, hold on. I'm trying to think of my words here to make it as clear and relatable to our lovely audience. So, it's like the customer is always right mentality in retail that makes you want to rip your eyeballs out and jump off the side of a building. Yeah, Ian, for context, worked at a grocery store, so he knows all about this. I worked at a retail store.
I worked at retail too. I know what you mean. Yeah.
But like there's a point where there's entitlement and then over entitlement, right? As a customer, if your developer is saying you're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, you should be entitled to that, right? Those are promises made to you. Does that make sense? Like if they say like, "Oh, you can do this," and you could do this in the game, and then the game comes out and you can't do it, or it's poorly executed, you, as a consumer, have a right to be disappointed, or like, be like, hey, like, you did it, but you're allowed to criticize it.
Right.
But then there's over entitlement.
Do you have any example that happened recently?
Horizon Zero Dawn was one I was talking about. Okay. Like, people felt so entitled that this person should look like in who they think this character is in their mind, when that's not the case. They kept to it. I'll respect them for that, because there are some companies that'd be like, oh, whoa, we don't want to make people mad. Like, no, they're like, this is how the game is, and it's such a little thing that people blew up about. But I think Ian has a better example as well. And
again, I still blame woke culture for this as well. Where everyone's complaining about any whatever reason, and like company have to bend the knee over for it.
I wouldn't really relate this. I wouldn't necessarily relate this to woke culture in that way. It's the point of people are seeing a fine detail. It doesn't impact the game at all. It's like the peach fuzz thing, and if people feel like they're so entitled to bitch about it, really, because it's like. There are like 1,000 other things, right? Like, there's other things, because there were some things that game did wrong. But one of the things that game will be known for is the controversy about peach fuzz. Because people had conniptions over a woman character having little bits of hair, as I'm pulling on right now for my fellow commenters to see.
I think a better and like closer to today's like time, like literally today on April 19th, 2022, is just some of the controversies that came out with Elden Ring, to go and bring it back to that.
Yeah.
Those are prime examples of people going and saying, the game's not accessible, I can't play this, and stuff like that.
Right.
And attributing the difficulty and the punishment that you get from the game by not playing it the way that it's basically designed to be played, and not having certain elements about it, certain design elements that it's not known in any FromSoft game, not just the Soulsborne games, but just their long history of not holding your hand with an abundance of UI on the screen at all times. And people going and complaining, well, how am I supposed to know when I have this kind of effect on me, or when this thing is kind of going on, or whenever there's this problem happening? Right. How am I supposed to go and keep track of all that? You pay attention. You go and watch. One of my favorite things that actually came up recently was the worst Elden Ring review. This dude posted a 2-minute review on YouTube, and all it is him holding the Elden Ring case for the Xbox One X, and just ripping it a new one, calling it bad, doing the classic "it's bad because it sucks" and "it sucks because it's bad" kind of argument. And what he did was literally attack the very first friendly, non-aggressive NPC you find in the game, White Mask Varus. He's standing right there, and
with no weapon,
no
just
weapons.
chilling.
He's got the most. It's an arrogant stance, but he's got the least aggressive stance of any of the NPCs in the game that you meet at that point. And he's just like, oh, he just started attacking me, and I couldn't do anything about it and stuff like that. And it's just like, no, you literally cannot have non-hostile NPCs attack you unless you make them hostile.
Right.
You have to attack them a minimum of 3 times.
I think we saw the same video from the Actman, right?
Yeah, the Actman went and like roasted this at the very beginning of his video about the worst hot takes for Elden Ring. Right. And it's stuff like that. That's just one of the most extreme examples of it. But you got people that when the game came out going and saying that there were all these things about it that were wrong and everything like that. No, you just didn't like the fact that it wasn't in that game because FromSoft doesn't like to go and put those things in their games. If you want that kind of design element, you go to places like Ubisoft. You go to places like you play Assassin's Creed. Right. You play Rainbow Six. You play all these other games that have those as a part of its identity because the developers said, we think that's a good way to go and run a game, and we want it for our game. Right. FromSoft didn't want that, and people were mad about it.
Right.
Like, that's a big one. I agree with that. That's actually a perfect recent example. But just, like, games choosing to have these identities. Like, hey, we want this game to do X, Y, Z, and ABC kinds of people will play this game and like it. And then you have gamers, HIJK over here, who the game isn't... It's not necessarily their type of game, which is fine. I'm not saying you have to like every game. And then they're mad because they tried this game and didn't like it, but it's the game's problem that they didn't like it. Does that make sense?
No, I get it.
Yeah, they try to act as if the game that just...
I completely get it, you know, but like as the creator of Dark Souls and Horizon, they have a vision in their head how they want the game to be, right? And like once you publish that to the open market, people are going to complain about your art. But if you were to change the art that you had envisioned, you're going back against what you're creating to pander to these people, and that's why it goes back to me saying like this is woke culture where everyone thinks that like they're right, and then like they have the right to complain about everything. And I don't believe that's the case.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's woke culture.
Woke, cancel, same similar area.
I would just say that's just in its honest, true form. Like, woke culture is like, well, that's a whole separate thing. But woke culture is its own separate little bubble. I would say, like, in its purest form, this is pure entitlement. This isn't, like, this is, like, honestly, it's pure, unfiltered entitlement. Thinking that you can say whatever you want, but speaking up and you expect the company to bend to your will.
Exactly what woke culture is. Like you just literally just explained it.
Like woke culture is a little different. Would you think? Like it's more like certain aspects under scrutiny. But I mean, like it'd be woke culture if it was like, I can't play as a woman. This game's fucking bullshit. No, that's like.
But the point is, we're in a culture where it's encouraged to complain about these kind of minute little things, and like this is the environment that we live in now.
Honestly, I think that's been happening since the beginning of time. Like working retail.
Do you remember hearing any of these stories about like Super Mario 64?
Probably.
Or like, probably or no? Yes or no? You know,
I'm saying what I'm saying is that there's a higher chance that people have complained.
Exactly.
About there is probably a handful of negative reviews out there for Mario 64, or if you walked across the street and asked like, "Hey, how is Mario 64?" they would hate it for some reason, right? And for context, Super Mario 64 is one of the highest rated games of all time, and it's a very enjoyable playthrough. One of the best games ever, and I will die on that hill. But the point is, it's not like, again, woke culture would be like, there's no woman, like, I can't play a woman in this game. That's ridiculous. Like, woke culture is more about,
a woman
like,
doesn't have all this hair.
Yeah,
you should get rid of it.
That's, I would say,
right.
That would be kind of more woke culture.
That's talking about. You were complaining about Horizon for the exact same thing. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, I would contain that in woke culture, right? Where you're talking about identity, representation. That's like the wokeness. I'm talking also like with what Ian said, like at the core. You're complaining about core gameplay. That's not necessarily woke culture.
So I get what you're saying. They're complaining about the hair and just like minute little thing that doesn't ultimately matter.
But I would say that would be woke. I would agree with that. But when I'm saying what Ian was talking about with like gameplay too hard, me no likey, like that's that I wouldn't say is woke culture.
Right.
That's just a sense
I
of
was
entitlement
kind of
that
referring to like the whole Horizon thing.
Oh, okay. Then
Right.
Yeah.
then I agree with you.
So something like what you're saying with woke culture. Blah, blah, blah. What are words? I will go ahead and say that. The difference between someone complaining about something in a woke culture kind of way, like what you're describing, is why doesn't this game have more females in it?
Right.
Females
I
make
get
up
that.
half the population.
get
That should
that.
change. It's like, well, I'm
Yeah,
sorry
that'd be
that I
well-
made a game that takes place in medieval Europe where men pretty much dominate the political landscape. So you're going to see a majority of men going and doing the talking because that's just how it was in historical Europe.
Right.
And then you go and have something like Elden Ring, where people are complaining about certain features being in the game, certain features not being in the game being too hard, the game not having a difficulty setting. And it's like, at that point, it's more comparable to complaining about going
Pure
and shopping
entitlement.
around for a brand of car like Chevy that doesn't have a whole lot of hybrid options and being like, why don't they have more hybrid options across their entire car lineup?
Right.
And it's like, why aren't you going and looking at car brands that do, like Toyota?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're wanting a hybrid car, go to the brand that has the best hybrid options for you.
Right.
What instead of looking at this brand and going and complaining that you can't find enough of a brand known not to have the thing you want.
And then an example, like for you, like the woke culture example would be, I'm gonna do something very dangerous here. I'm gonna put both sides of what, like the like, oh my god, there's a woman versus like, why aren't there enough women? I'm gonna contain all of that into woke culture just for this. Like Call of Duty World War II, when that trailer came out, people were turned.
Oh my
We're
god,
about-
that's such a great example.
So
Right.
I think the lady was a French woman, correct? Was I wrong? British French.
Wasn't she like also an amputee with
are you talking
robotic
about in
arms?
the...
So she wasn't. That
That
was
was,
not.
that was Battlefield 5,
That was
actually.
Battlefield?
That commercial you're talking about is Battlefield 5.
Okay.
So
We need more women in war, in
right.
a war where there are no women.
actually, I'm gonna pivot to Battlefield 5. We'll talk about. I'm gonna let you take World War II because I know you would know more about that.
I played more World War
Yeah.
II. I know all about that.
Yeah. So Battlefield 5 had that lady with the amputee arm. So I like these kinds of things. I like history things. I like my research. So there's a lot of controversy, like, oh my god, this woman's fighting with a robotic arm. It's not a robotic arm. It's a prosthetic limb that was very time accurate. I am actually very pleasantly surprised how time accurate that was. So if you looked at the trailer, it looks like a pair of pliers, right? It had the little hook on the top and the little piece on the bottom. That is accurate to amputee prosthetic limbs during that time. But the other thing too is, I could be wrong, but that lady was either British or French.
It could be either or, honestly, because during World War II, I know a lot about World War II history. It was
Women-
almost like my favorite thing to study in school.
Resistance.
Yeah, like you had female French resistance fighters and female OSS operators in the UK that helped with the war effort behind the scenes. You didn't see them on the front line. That was still primarily, almost entirely, a man's place to be in World War II. Because, of course, you're not going to go and put women on the front line. At that time, no one agreed with that.
Exactly.
People still don't agree with that for the most part today, of putting women on the front line. For different reasons nowadays, but back then it was because women have a different kind of value when it comes to war, and it's in more caretaker positions. That was the thought back then in World War II. So you had a lot of female nurses that worked close to the front line, but never on the front line.
Right.
So you had, but when you had them working in slightly more combative positions, they were usually as secret agents or in intelligence operations type of fields, because
No one
they
would
did
suspect a woman.
No one would suspect a woman of being a secret agent or a double agent in the German Schutzstaffel.
Okay.
No one would ever suspect that if they could actually pull off being a German citizen and going and actually believing in everything the Nazi Party was spouting during World War II.
Okay.
And so that actually, so I'm going to be quite blunt. People who didn't know what they were talking about got turned over that. And it was actually, if you did a lick of research, it was very time accurate. And I guess, I could be wrong, I never played Battlefield 5, but the gameplay explained it really well while she was there, if I remember correctly. Did you play it?
No.
I could be wrong on
She wasn't
that,
even
though.
a character from the main campaign. It was just kind of a random, hey, you can play as this kind of character, and she is an operator in the multiplayer.
Okay.
But you don't really go and hear anything more about that besides that.
And
Okay.
again, go ahead.
So maybe I'll backtrack about what I meant by the woke culture. I'm gonna say maybe what I said wasn't a direct impact of direct culture, but maybe it was a ripple effect. Is what I was trying to get at.
But here's an example of woke culture. I got a good example for you.
No, I mean I get what woke culture, but
Yeah.
continue.
No, I'm just saying for in gaming.
Okay.
I know you know what woke culture is, but removing of the Nazi flag in World War II games.
I think they limit that practice mostly to Germany because of all the laws involving Nazi symbolism in Germany.
Didn't they remove like the Southern flag, like the Confederate flag from like apps and all that stuff too from other places? Do you guys remember that?
I actually can't even remember that.
No,
I never heard
but-
of that.
The Apple Store removed all the Confederate flag.
Okay,
that's a different story.
it's Apple, so I'm not really
yeah,
surprised
that's a
that they
different
did
story.
that.
But yeah,
Apple has a tendency of rolling over and sucking dick to anyone's dick. So, but
Yeah.
we're talking about video games, not mobile apps. But that's an example, right? Everyone knows. 85% of people know that Nazis equal bad, right? Like, you don't want to be a Nazi. They did terrible things. They killed millions of people. Like, that's established. No ifs, ands, or buts. Like, that is what it is. That is what happened. No debate at all. So, but there has to be a suspension of disbelief, right? Where, like, yes, you're playing a World War II game. It's set in World War II. There are Nazis in World War II. That's why we hate them. Like, come on, like, you know what I mean? Like, and there's a whole video online about how people feel about being, because there's like the red team and the blue team, like in multiplayer, like you have us versus them, and they talked about like being told like you're on the Nazi team. Like, nobody fucking cares. Like,
I remember that video.
And I'll take a step back too. Even if people cared, that is a simple fix, right? You just reverse the teams. So, like, what game did it? I'm trying to remember. So, like, there were some multiplayer games I used to play when I was younger where you'd be, like, red team and the enemy would be blue team. But if you were on the other team, you would still be red team, but the other team was blue team. Does that make sense? You would see your enemies as blue.
what if I want to play as a Nazi?
I mean, then that's power too.
I'm just saying I don't. I'm not saying I do, but I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying now because
right.
Do you get?
Always
I get what you're saying. There was like
you never play as the Nazi. They're always the bad guys.
But like there were some games that didn't even have that they did that with too. Like for instance,
I'm just saying if there was enough outrage about it, like I'm of the opinion like it is what it is. You are creating a historically accurate game. They're going to be there. If you don't want to play it, then it's not the game for you. Like, I'm sorry, but like there are some games that I can't even remember an example off the top of my head, unfortunately, that they would switch the team colors. So you would always be like team red no matter what team. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, it's there are games like Planeticide 2 where you can go and switch that. Like, no matter what team you decide to play on, you can always make your settings to where like one team comes off as this color, the other team comes off as this color, and your team always comes off as blue, even if your team colors for like the Terran Republic, one of the factions in Planeticide 2, their traditional color on all of their equipment and all of their vehicles is red.
Yeah.
So on the mini-map and on the scoreboard, you always see everything for the Terran Republic as you're playing that as blue.
But my point is, if this was such an outrage, like, why not just build that as a game mechanic moving forward? Like, so no one is really the Nazi if that is such a prevalent thing. And then even, like, take a step back. Like, there are still games where you are literally the terrorist. Like, at that point, do you take that... Do you get what I'm saying? It's like...
That's what I'm saying.
At that point, do you keep going steps forward? Like, there are Call of Duty games where you're the KGB. There are Call of Duty games where you are...
I want to be a Titan in Call of Duty. I want to be like a...
The Armor Titan?
Oh, no, wait, hold on. What was the... I want to be Levi. You can play as Levi in Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah, the new Call of Duty?
Yeah,
I saw that. That's stupid. That's so stupid.
Hey, all I gotta say is make your paper, boo-boo. Go do your thing, Call of Duty.
So...
But ruining the fan base is up to you, and whatever.
So you mentioned the why don't we just go and do that as a design thing moving forward. EA actually tried that with Medal of Honor when they still made Medal of Honor games.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
They did the Switch. I know.
So
it was
what
a
they
common
did.
game.
So what they did with that actually was, if you played as the U.S., you would still show up as the U.S. But if you played as the Taliban, they were Taliban 100%. You could listen to the characters whenever you're playing as a Taliban on the multiplayer. You can see what the members of your team are wearing in terms of their outfits for their player models and stuff like that. You cannot convince me otherwise that they weren't basically going and just saying, oh yeah, this is the Taliban. They changed it to Op 4. Opposing force, Op 4. So it was like you had it was placed in the Middle East, which was like the big conflict when the game came out. Like it was supposed to be like the competitor to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and it was just so obvious that they were trying to not step on any toes by not calling it the Taliban side of the multiplayer. Whenever you fought in the multiplayer games, the Taliban, they wanted, just like how older games like World War II Call of Duty games, you would always be called some sort of like, you would be called Germans or the Wehrmacht. Like in World at War, you were the Wehrmacht whenever you played as the Nazis.
Like if you don't even want to tell them, like call them the Nazis, sure, whatever. Like I get it. You don't want to be a Nazi. I would feel a little weird if someone called me a Nazi. Then change it to Germans. Change it to like something else like that. But now it's us. It's literally like the newest Call of Duty. I think it's like our team, their team, or something. It's like stupid simplified. It's kind of like,
I think in the newest Call of Duty though, they don't actually have like any sort of like chosen side per se. They don't like in older like,
you know what?
Because it was like used to be like Russia versus US and the games that like the conflict was taking place with Russia and stuff like that.
Maybe I'm in the minority, but whenever I play COD, I never notice what team I'm on. I just play as my character.
Honestly, that's a good point too.
Yeah, majority of the time when I played Call of Duty, it was just I have a certain custom class that I made. I play as that custom class. I'm just running around with akimbo Winchester 1886s and sniping people from across the map by double barrel with a double shot. Because I got to play a little bit of Modern Warfare 2 before they patched that out.
I mean, shit, I've seen more people be offended they're on Pink Team than they are on Team Germany or Team Terrorist or whatever. Honestly, I swear to God, like.
I mean, people are gonna be sensitive about anything nowadays. That's the point I'm saying. That's like it's part of the ripple. But yeah, I don't know. I don't care about what team I'm on nowadays. I mean, I could be on the Nazi team. By the end of the day, I realize it's just a game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
come on.
You're in a little.
Why is everyone so sensitive about like this little thing and like Nazi? They're part of the past. They're part of like World War II. I mean, like I don't know. I don't get it.
And again, like there are understandable exceptions to that. Like if a game is ported to Germany, they're not going to have the Nazi flag.
That's a good point.
I get that. I 100%, and I completely respect that because that's basically them saying like disown this part of our history.
Yeah.
Like this is
a part of our history that we don't want to ever glorify in any medium, so we're just going to go and say it's not allowed in any medium in our country.
I wouldn't even say glorified. Because, I mean, it's not being glorified.
It's not. It's in the definition of the word, it's not being glorified when you just have it as a...
Present.
It's just being present in the game, basically, when you go and do a historical World War II, or even, like, for instance, with the Wolfenstein games, it's like you're playing a game where it's an alternate timeline where the Nazis have taken over the world. You're not glorifying the Nazis, you're actually trying to fight the Nazis. So having the Nazi flag there just shows you that they are still present. You still have a fight to win by trying to get that flag taken down by taking the people who put it up there to begin with. Yeah.
And again, completely respectable. Like, I'm gonna actually jump out of video games. Like, for example, Demon Slayer, Tanjiro's earrings, the Hanafuda cards with the sun on it, that's Imperial Japan. That's banned in like Taiwan and the Philippines because of Japanese imperialism. Completely get it. Because that's a very harsh history. But again, when you're just doing it for the sake of not offending someone, like, correction, let me make this a lot clearer. Someone without the historical impact or the historical experience being offended. Like, again, someone from Germany, they probably don't want to fucking see a Nazi flag. I respect that. Or people from the Philippines or people from Taiwan, they don't want to see the Japanese imperial flag with the sun and the sun streaks coming out of it. I completely respect that. And I completely understand why it's censored there. Because we're not
historical
gonna,
history.
Yeah, that
I
is
get
very,
that.
like, very harsh historical history and completely respectable, right?
Okay.
So, but when you are just offended because like,
Yeah.
that's...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people are just getting offended left and right, and they think they have the right to, like, take down a company just because they're offended.
Yeah.
Am I wrong to say that?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying for, like, gamer entitlement. Like, you think because someone has peach fuzz or a game is too difficult that the game company has to, like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me fix this right away. Like, no. You're, like, there's a point where you need to reflect. What is it that you always say? I have to reflect with myself.
Look inward.
Yeah, look inward. Maybe you're the problem.
Right.
Self-reflect. Are we the baddies?
Right.
Wait, are we the bad guys?
So, yeah. Well, I think I'm good on the topic. I don't really have anything else to say about, like, the gaming industry other than just I really do hope that it gets better. Elden Ring, they need to stick on their game because what they're doing is nothing but positive in the gaming industry. So, and with all the previous examples that we've mentioned with 2042, I hope developers learn to stay away from that kind of stuff, you know?
I think
So.
a big takeaway, too, is we are heading towards a culture of, like, all right, well, let's order it now, or let me pre-order it now. So I think at this point, there's a lot of damage being done by that pre-ordering culture within gaming. I think people need to stop pre-ordering, because I think that is actually the biggest consequence from these failures is people, you basically already bought the game, right? You could release it however the fuck you want because people already bought it because they got a keychain or a t-shirt with it, because that's the other thing too.
Okay, but before we end everything, I just want to comment on that. Like, there's nothing wrong with pre-ordering if the game is already completed, but the problem comes when they pre-order and the game is not completed. So pre-ordering can be a good thing if you implement it right.
Again, originally, you could pre-order it, right? Because some games would be so popular they'd sell out. Justified. Pre-ordering in that case is completely justified. But now, because people have the ability to patch or wait until the 11th hour and send out 20 gigabyte day zero patches, there's no reason anymore. Because at this point, 500,000 people already technically bought this game. Doesn't fucking matter how we release it, right? Because we can just, we can patch it later, or...
Right.
Yeah, that's the point I'm saying. I think we have to see these things improve, we need to start going away from the pre-ordering culture.
Okay.
Despite the fact that I do kind of miss the pre-order parties that would happen at, like, GameStop and all the other sorts whenever big releases would come out, like Halo 2 and 3 and Fallout, and just memories. Memories of hanging out in the parking lot until midnight when the game came out.
See, I think what pre-order need to do more is, like, gives you more content rather than just, like, more skins or more doubloons, more macetas, or more money or whatever. You know, like, that's a bad.
Definitely more content.
Yeah.
If you're gonna release a game, just more content and make sure the content actually works.
Just finish content. That's all.
Finish content.
Exactly.
Right.
Finish the game.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Own your identity. Give it care and finish the game.
Yeah.
That's all we want. That's all we want.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not even entitlement. It's just asking for a product.
That's the bar. That's what you have to hit.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, with that all being said, thank you guys for giving your insights about the whole gaming landscape at the moment. I really do hope for the best in the gaming industry, and I don't want to go back to, like, 1980 where the gaming industry crashed. I'm fearing that might be the case, but I'm going to be optimistic about that.
Never forget E.T.
So, yeah.
Rip.
So with that being said, if you like what you heard, hit the like button, and if you're new to here, just hit the subscribe. If you want me to talk about any particular topic, there's also a Discord server that I put in the description below. You're more than welcome to go there, leave a topic of whatever you want to talk about, and we'll review it. So with all that being said, namaste. Oh, Ian, one last word.
Streaming.
Don't forget Dr. Gnome65 on Twitch.
Dr. Gnome 65. All right, I'll put that on a link too. Well, thank you guys for coming along, and namaste. Peace.